It is obvious education has been facing problems throughout decades, centuries. It has not been satisfactory. Something more was always needed. And the fact was that whatever has been the education and whatever it is today, it does not develop full man. The quality of life that is expected in an educated man does not seem to develop through the present system of education. There is something missing somewhere. I heard Chancellor Boyer yesterday and Dr. Cross today made a beautiful survey of what the present education provides and came out with the conclusion that there is some lack somewhere. How to fill that gap is a question. And in my thought, there is definitely something lacking in education. What is lacking, I think, should be obvious to us all. If we look into the process of gaining knowledge, we find there are two sides to knowledge. The object of knowledge, and the subject of knowledge, the knower. What present system of education provides? The knowledge of the object. What it misses? The knowledge of the subject, the knowledge of the knower. For the stream of knowledge, two banks, on one side the object, on one side the knower. With these 2 points of references, knower and the object, the first point of reference is the knower. Very important, because we know the knowledge is as it is. When the mind is dull, when the knower is sleepy, the knowledge is something different than what it is when one is wide awake, fresh in the morning. Completely. The perception is different. The understanding is different. Emotions are different. So knowledge is different in different states of consciousness. It's very clear, we know from our own experience. And what education provides is knowledge of physical values, physics, chemistry, biology, astronomy. Different disciplines are there to provide information about different fields of life. Everything is right, nothing is wrong there. What is not provided is concerned with that, and that is the knowledge of the knower. Without the knowledge of the knower, when the knower is in ignorance about himself, the whole structure of knowledge is as if baseless. The foundation of knowledge is the consciousness of the knower, is the knower. But if the knower is in dark, the knower doesn't know himself, then it's very obvious that the whole structure of knowledge, the whole field of knowledge, has no basis to it. And such baseless knowledge can only be non-fulfilling. Knowledge provided by present education is fulfilling. It has its great values, but values are on the objective level of life and values are missing on the subjective value of life. The individual is not fulfilled, yet the blessings of education, the blessings of knowledge promote progress in the objective field of life. So there is progress, there is satisfaction. In whatever field the education is expert. The education is expert in providing knowledge about the object, and therefore there is progress in the objective field. The education does not touch the field of the subject, and therefore the field of the subject, the field of the knower, remains out of knowledge. It's now high time that we provide the knowledge of the along with the knowledge of all disciplines.